Let's first ask the obvious question: why do you need to wear apparel in a clean room? Clean room apparel is required for two reasons. The first reason being operators shed particles. We all know that the operator is the #1 source of contamination in the clean room. So you need to encapsulate the operator, so the contamination that comes from the dandruff in our hair, from our flaking skin, from our beards, from our breath, from our clothes that are shedding, from our jewelry that might be having oxidizing or having some corrosive impact. So the #1 reason for clean room apparel is to isolate the operator, to make sure that the contamination on the operator doesn't go into the clean room environment. The second reason, which isn't as common, but there are clean rooms like a nuclear facility or a facility that's manufacturing penicillin, where the operator is coming in contact with material that's dangerous. Facilities where they're handling arsenic. So where you're handling a compound that's dangerous, there's a twofold reason for the garment, right? The first reason is still to make sure that the operator doesn't contaminate the environment through shedding and just particles coming off them, their body and their garment. And then the other reason for that is they're dealing with hazardous materials that can potentially be dangerous and life-threatening. So those are the two reasons for why you need clean room garments. I would say 100% of the time, all clean rooms need to have some apparel to eliminate the linting from the operator. But generally speaking, I would say, looking at all critical environments, probably less than 15, definitely less than 20% of the environments are dealing with hazardous areas. What most clean rooms have done over time, if they've come up with engineered solutions so that they isolate the hazardous compounds, they isolate the dangerous areas so that the operator can't become in harm's way. So those are the two reasons why you need garments. Then let's talk about the two types of garments. There's reusable garment and there's disposable garment. Let's talk a little bit about why you would be in a disposable garment, because even though at Valutek we sell disposable garments, we are not doing our job if a client is in a disposable garment when they could be in a reusable garment. Because reusable garments are better for the environment and they generally are a lower cost option than a disposable garment. So why would you be in a disposable garment versus a reusable garment? The first one being when they're not available. There's some areas that are just geographically isolated. There are clean room facilities in remote locations in the Dakotas and Idaho. When you have a reusable garment, it's a function of how close is the laundry. If the laundry isn't in the same town, if the laundry is at 2 days in transit, that means that the operator needs to have more sets of garments. If you have 3 days in transit to move the garments, then that means you need to have the set the operator wears, the set that's in transit, and the set that's being washed. Well, it's a less cost option, or it becomes more costly if you have to have 3 or 4 sets of garments because you're not in close proximity. So the farther you are away from the clean room laundry, the less likely it is that you're going to go reusable because you'll have to have more sets of garments. Another instance is where it's impractical. If you're a nuclear facility or you're handling radioisotopes or you're making adriamycin, which is a chemotherapy drug medication, the clean room laundry will not want to wash those garments, right? Because if they wash those garments, there's the possibility they're going to cross-contaminate other people's garments. And there's also the possibility that the people working in the clean room laundry are going to come in contact with those hazardous materials that are on the garments. And so there are many industries where it's just not practical. We have accounts like one out at Sumco where they are doing crystal pulling and they literally will stain a garment, so it's not practical. Another instance is when the facility is just too small. When it's a very small facility, when you have typically 5 operators or less, there's just not enough critical mass to warrant reusable. Because any type of a clean room laundry is going to have a minimum billing. They're going to have a minimum billing typically of $200 to $300 a month just to have a service. So if you only have 3 people in a clean room, even though it might be just a couple of dollars to have a set laundered, you don't have enough volume, you don't hit kind of the minimum threshold for the laundry to want to support it. A fourth instance is for visitors, right? You don't want to make a commitment of 2 or 3 or potentially 4 sets of reusable garments for a visitor, because the visitor is only going to be in the garment occasionally. It's not an ongoing thing. For new hires, if you just bring on temporary people or if you have new people that are on board, you're going to always need, and so I guess just let me interrupt a little bit. It's not either or, right? Even facilities that use reusable garments use disposable garments for hazardous areas, for visitors, for new hires, because this is a pretty fixed number. By a fixed number, your clients are going to be contractually obligated to a contract that's going to say 50 garments picked up once a week or every 2 weeks. And so if the contract is for 50 and all of a sudden you double your head count to 100, it takes a while for the laundry to ramp up to bring those garments into play. In less critical environments. So if you're talking about a macro environment, class 10,000 or above, typically a limited use or disposable garment is more viable. Then in emergency situations, I've been in facilities that are evacuated. I mean, literally, they have something happen in the clean room and everyone is forced to evacuate. Well, when they're forced to evacuate, they don't go through normal downing procedures or de-downing exit procedures. When you have an emergency situation, you are tasked to evacuate the clean room and basically run off the premises to a collection point in the parking lot in your clean room reusable suit. So what have you done? You've basically contaminated your garment. So if you're going to go, once they correct the situation in the clean room and you go back in, you're going to need to have disposable garments on hand until the reusable garments can get back up to the click. And then we touched on this briefly. We said when it's impractical, there are also in conditions where it's not necessarily a hazardous application, but where it's an application where you're going to get the garments dirty. So paint spray booths are notorious for overspray. And so in that situation, the clean room garments are a dark navy blue or a black. So where you have the instance where you're going to damage the garment or destroy the garment because of any type of reusable set with a hood, a bunny suit, and high top booties, you're talking about an investment of $150 to $200. If there's a high likelihood that something in your process or your product is going to destroy that, it's going to cause the zippers to get torn, there's going to be a situation where the operator is coming in contact with moving parts or a process where you're going to damage or destroy the garments, again, that's when you want to look at disposable. So we just to summarize why you need clean room garments, the number one reason is the operator generates particles. So in all instances, you need to have a garment system to prevent the operator from contaminating the environment. And then in 15 to 20% of clean room environments, they're dealing with dangerous materials, hazardous materials, that they want to make sure that the garment not only protects contaminants from the operator from going in, but it also prevents the operator from being exposed to those dangerous and hazardous opportunities. Thank you.